And let's go live. Okay. Okay, we are live on Facebook. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to episode number 24 of the Blossoming Into You series. My name is Miko Lau. I'm your host. In case this is your first time meeting me, I am a pleasure transformational coach dedicated to supporting women in reclaiming their radiance, aliveness, and magnetism by tapping into the sexual energy and leveraging the healing powers of pleasure. And today on this episode, we have with us joining Christina from Berkeley, California, and we will be diving deep into talking about what it looks like and how to live a life that is overflowing with love. With that being said, Christina, welcome.
Thanks, Mika. I'm really excited to be here with you.
I'm really excited to have you join us as well. Before we dive into this topic, share with our audience a little bit more about you.
Yeah, so I actually just moved here to Berkeley, so really excited to just be moving in a really amazing kind of part of my own life journey. Um but yeah, I work currently as a coach. So I work with people who are kind of at really big transitional moments in their life. So a lot of the people I work with have used psychedelics and had a really like amazing opening experience, or they've gone through a divorce or are dealing with addiction, or kind of at this moment where they like know that they really need to deeply change something about their lives. So it's kind of my forte, is like
Mhm.
almost like midwifing people into like a new way of being, and so it's just the most exciting, incredible work. And of course, a huge component of that is the self-love journey. For me, that really is kind of the fundamental piece that weaves together all the different facets of my work. So I'm really excited to get to talk about that today. And especially, at this point in my life too, where I'm in a new place and meeting new people and trying to find new community, and just the recognition that the more and more I ground in my own self-love and self-appreciation, just I feel like the more infectious I am, and like the more it seems that like these beautiful things come into my life. So
Well, Christina, let me tell you, you are definitely infectious, and it's so beautiful to see. Like even the lighting change for you. Like it just you.
I noticed that the sun came out.
Yeah, yeah, it's beautiful. It's like this radiance just lit up. So the universe is backing you up on that statement. Yeah, but I love that you're mentioning this, like really talking about, and I truly believe this as well. Like self-love is the core foundation from which anything can be built off of. It's like the where it's the environment that's conducive for a beautiful flower to blossom of. And I was literally just wrapped up a call before this session where I got interviewed by an amazing individual asking me all about self-love, and I'm just like feeling in this energy right now, and I'm really excited to continue this conversation. And I also love the work that you do. You say like midwife for people going through like a massive transition, because it is in those moments when everything is uncertain, when everything is like falling apart. That's when we can plant a seed for something powerful and new to blossom out of. So tell us, like, what how has self-love personally like played a role in your journey?
Mm. Oh man, it's honestly it's so funny, right? Because I work with people, who have these intense experiences, people who are using psychedelics, all these things that like, are really intense. And honestly, for me, I think the most wildly psychedelic, crazy up and down journey of my life has been the journey to loving myself, really. And I think it's a hard thing to talk about because, of course, it can sound like a Hallmark card. Like we all know,
Mhm.
love yourself and whatever. But like when I made loving myself my deepest spiritual practice, like my reason for being, like just an incredibly huge part of my life, it really transformed everything for me, and it's like so hard to make it sound not trite, because it really is like the deepest, most difficult thing for humans to do, I think, honestly, is to be able to accept everything that they are, the dark stuff, the light stuff, the awkward stuff, the sexual stuff, the shame, like all of it, and so personally what it looked like for me was, um I was super like highly functional, went to grad school, was going to become a therapist, I had sort of this trajectory, traveled the world, and even still, I was just so deeply lonely. Like I could be
Mhm.
in a room filled with people who loved me, and I just never received it fully. Um,
Yeah.
and so that all really came to a head for me. I was living in Costa Rica. I was working with refugees. I was like doing really intense work. And I think just the confluence of a lot of things, I just got super burnt out. And like I've dealt with really those depths of just feeling like hating myself, um especially during that time. And I think really what was the change for me was hitting that rock bottom, and that's kind of why I'm really like interested in this work of like, at that moment I had no reason to believe life could be any different. I'd always felt kind of depressed and always felt kind of lonely, and it just felt like I was able, in the like absolute bottom, to access this deeper part of myself that was just untouched by everything I'd been through, that was incredibly strong, and just started to be able to believe more and more that like I could live in a different way. And so there are a lot of practices I used, and a lot of different techniques, I think. But I think the pretty much easiest one that like I would love to share with people is just literally waking up every day and saying like, I love myself. I love myself. I love myself. And in the beginning it was like, oh my God, no, I don't, and I don't feel this. But it's like over time, I just would repeat to myself anytime I thought of it, I love myself. Um, and little things like that just started to shift the way I walked in the world. And the last thing I'll say, I think the thing that has been most surprising for me is, yeah, I just never thought anyone fully loved themselves. Like I thought, oh, we all kind of have but like I can say I deeply love myself. And I never thought that was possible. And I'm like, I still have the same mistake. I am not perfect. And there's no reason to wait to love ourselves. We don't have to have it all figured out, or have, lost that weight, or gotten a partner, or do whatever we think we need to do in order to be lovable, And so I think there was real strength in finding that love in a moment where most things in my external life were really, really difficult. Um, yeah. And I think
Mhm.
it's given me the foundation to love other people well too, just like that inner stability to like not judge and to appreciate other people, because I feel like within myself I'm not like projecting or like needing things from people in the same way that I used to, if that makes sense.
Yeah, everything was just so good. And I just made a post very recently, Christina. I talked about how we live in a society where most people are putting on this big show. Like, I've got it together. I've got the job. I've got the success. I've got the family. I've got the house. I've got the car. I've got, all of this, and this beautiful depiction of our life, like the highlight reels, and even Instagram has reels now. Like, come on. It's like we put on this massive show for the world, but then we hide our deepest truth from ourselves internally. And that's like, that loneliness, that sadness, like that deep, deep, deep sense of unfulfillment that only we know of. Like only we are the only ones that get to feel it and experience it. And that, I would say, it's like the biggest pain that humanity can really feel when we are not being true to ourselves and putting on this show and like constantly battling with ourselves internally and just feeling like we got to walk on eggshells everywhere. And the people that we come into interactions with, they feel the same way, because energy do not lie. Like, just like how you said, now that you have this deep foundation of self-love, you can love other people the same way. Like, people can feel it when internally we're at war with ourselves, even if we don't say it, but people don't feel safe around us when we are in that energy. So everything that you said is spot on. And really, am I back? Sorry, is my connection,
Yeah, you're good.
Christina?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I think there was an internet connection. Yeah, so and liberation really comes down to meeting ourselves in all of the fullest parts, like you mentioned, the shame, like the ugly, the awkward parts of ourselves. Like, that's what self-love has looked like for me too. It's the moment when I started to accept and to meet the parts of me that I have been repressed and judged for so long. And that's when I feel like so liberated and so whole. And it's such a fun ride. Like, life gets to be so fun when we start going that direction. And it's almost like it always gets better. It never like go backward, where we, I mean, yes, we still feel pain, we still feel challenges, we still have the downs in life, but we get to meet it with a place of a goodness, with a safety blanket within ourselves that is so much more capable of holding ourselves through those times. Do you find that as well in your journey? It's like it only gets better.
Totally. And I think for me, of course, like there are still struggles. I'm human. I deeply believe we came here to live life to the fullest. And that means having dark times. That means feeling the depth of our grief. That means like having the full spectrum of experience. But I think part of it too is developing more of a mindset of self-love. I feel like I can feel the sting of those things, but I don't have so much story around it. Like, I lose the suffering of having this whole story of like, well, this always happens to me, or I'm a lonely person, or you know just kind of these other things that I added on to my suffering. It's like, oh, I can feel like, oh wow, that really hurt. Oh, I feel betrayed, or I feel this, but there feels like there's less weight to it because I'm able to meet it with self love rather than more mind drama, if that makes sense. Um, and so I think in that way, it's like, it's not just kind of like how our energy shifts things around us. It's just like actually also working with our mind, and our mindset is a super important component that I've found too. And yeah, I totally resonate with everything you said.
Yeah, Christina, am I frozen? You look
You're good.
frozen on my end.
Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. I think you're back now. Yeah, I can hear you, but the picture froze for a bit. I think you're back. Technology problem. Um, no, you're spot on. Yeah, you're spot on about like it comes down to meeting. What are we meeting the challenges with this loving, present essence of us, or are we meeting it with more like patterns or mind chatter or the egoic belief systems? Like, it is all about shifting our relationship with life, like the context from which we experience life from. Is it coming from a place of everything is part of humanity and I love it all, or is it like some is okay, some I welcome, some I like? It's like this constant judgment and rejection of life's experiences that sometimes I find it's the root of suffering. Versus being a wide open, there's a saying I love to say, like, be a hell yes to the penetration of life. Like, when we are in that state, we just take it all in, we just take it all in, be in a full surrender, right? And that's that way of living. It's fun, it's free, it's liberating, it's juicy. It's like you just flow with it, you just go with it.
I love
Yeah.
that. I'm gonna start quoting you, and and yeah, I think
uh,
what it like reminds me of in my own journey, and what I see a lot with clients is it's like it's hard to get to a point, especially when you've experienced deep trauma, of like, oh, it's a blessing. I'm glad that happened. I think maybe farther down the road, like that's possible. But I do think part of what helped me a lot on my self-love journey is like, maybe it's not a blessing, but it is a resource. And like everything that I've been through, even the difficult times, have built me into who I am. And the less I see myself as a victim of life or of the circumstances that happened to me, um, and the more I see myself as, yeah, like a co-creator with life, and as someone who's taken the lemons and made some bomb ass lemonade, that yeah, it just feels like a lot easier to really sink into yeah, just feelings of self-love and self-acceptance, because I no longer feel like I'm rejecting life. It's like I'm kind of can work with it, if that makes sense. And um yeah, I think that in addition, it's been so important for me too to like recognize that no one knows me better than I know myself. Like I am my own best friend and lover
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
support. And that, I think I was always kind of waiting around for someone to outside of me to come in and like love me right. And, all these things. And it's just really been empowering to not see
Mm-hmm.
myself as some like, damsel in distress or whatever, that like I have the power within me, to be my best self and to like support me in the ways that I know I need. So, yeah, I think those reframes are really, really important, I've found.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Christina, there is a powerful saying that I love. I love Abraham Hicks, and they always talk about how we're looking for love in all of the wrong places. And that's essentially how most of us live our lives when we are disconnected from this unwavering, constant source of unconditional love from within. We seek love from our success, from our achievements, from what we do, from the likes and comments from social media, from our partners, from dating, from whatever, from food, even. Like we're constantly seeking love from all the wrong places when we are not connected to our own source of love. But the moment we are able to connect to that, it's like we everything that we do comes from a place of wholeness, comes from a place of overflowing of love, right? It's like I'm doing this simply because for the pleasure of it. It's not that I need it to fulfill something inside of me, but it's just because it's fun, because it gives me joy, because I want to do it, not because I feel like I need to do it to make myself whole.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I love that. And I couldn't agree more. I think it's just about dropping into the joy of living. And just to say, we're kind of getting towards the end of our time. Just, I know how hard it can be too. Like, this isn't to make light of people who are struggling, of people who don't feel like self-love yet. It's such a long journey, but I think the most important thing for people to know is that it is possible, and I think our natural state is to be like open-hearted and loving, and it's our traumas and these old patterns that can sometimes feel like they're in the way, but it's always there, I believe. And like we're whole already, but it can take time to peel back some of those layers and really, drop into that space. But I think, yeah, I just really want people to know that it is possible, and working with, yeah, a coach or a therapist or just getting support, I think for me also was so important, especially when I was in my like really, really dark times. And so, yeah, it's not easy, but it is so incredibly possible to live in that way where, yeah, you just feel the joy of being alive and the gratitude for just getting to live this one precious life that you are, you know. I think it came for me of like, okay, I'm not meant to be Mother Teresa. I'm not meant to be, you know, the Instagram model. You know, I'm meant to be 100% Christina Sandwen. And that is the point of this life, you know? And I just really hope that for everyone, that they get to be 100%, you know, exactly who they are. And, you know, it's a journey, but I'm really excited to at least plant some seeds with this conversation.
No, that's such a powerful way, Christina. Thank you for presencing that important reminder. Am I back? Sorry, internet's just been glitchy.
You're here.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, I was saying like it's okay, good. It's so important to remember, like, especially anyone that's tuning in right now, like, if you are in the midst of like the deepest, darkest periods of your journey, really give yourself the permission to be there. Like, no judgment of it, no feeling like, oh, I need to be like what Christina and Mika are talking about in this state of bliss and joy and pleasure and loving myself. Like, you know, it's okay if you're not there. Be fully where you're at right now in your journey and just meet all of it with your full presence. And it's never easy. Like, this path, it's painful most of the times, and that's okay. Like, really giving yourself that permission to be there actually eases off some of that suffering. And also, Christina, what you mentioned about like having that support, like receiving support. I just sent out an email to my audience yesterday. Like, when we choose to receive support, that's actually a vote of yes, like I deserve it, I'm worthy of it, I'm worthy of receiving support. And that's so important to have, because you deserve it. You deserve all the support and the love that you get to have on your journey, and you don't have to do it alone. So, coming to the end, Christina, thank you so much for your presence, for your amazing like love vibe. I can feel it out of you, and the work that not only you have done for yourself, but the work that you're doing out there for the amazing people that you're working with. So, really inviting our audience, if they feel called and resonate, like if you're resonating with Christina, resonating with me, like really reach out and request support. So how can the listeners find you if they want to?
Yeah, so the best way is to, you can check out my website. So that's christinasandwen.com. I'm Instagram at Christina_Sandwen_coaching, a little bit of a long one. And then I just started my Facebook group, which is called Psychedelics, Sacred Sex, and Self-Love. So if you really want to dive deep in the self-love topics and also talk about reclaiming some of these things that have been made taboo in our society and kind of using that on the self-love journey, I would love to see you in there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Christina. And thank you, everyone who tuned in today. I always say every time you tuned into an episode, that's an act of self love, honoring yourself, feeding your mind, body, and soul something juicy, something good, and gives you life. So thanks for showing up today. And until next time, we'll see you again on episode 25. Bye.
Bye.